All right. Well, hello and welcome to the podcast that keeps it popping and we don't plan on stopping. What's our topic? Sex.
Obviously.
All right. And today's topic is about sex, obviously. And the topic today is not or in the mood. Should you have sex anyway? All right. And so before we just go ahead and yell yes from the top of our lungs, as
Right.
we just supposed to always want it, right? Like that's the problem. Is the whole I absolutely do want it no matter what, but that's not everybody, right? And so when you think about the nature itself of sex and arousal, like do you think that there are preconditions that are necessary to make it so that a person can engage in sex and do so
comfortably? Well, obviously there are preconditions, right? So I would say that there has to be. Let me preface this by saying I'm not talking about myself personally, right? Because if you're asking me personally, Dr. JJ, what are the preconditions? Oh, he looked at me. He must want sex. So you can't go by me and my personal opinion about the preconditions, but I would say that for a lot of people, right, there are components to desire that if you have high desire or low desire, it's not just about the drive itself, but it is about all of the conditions that lead to that drive, right? So it could be your mental state at the time, right? People that are struggling in the moment with mental health issues, maybe that affects their desire in one way or the other, one direction or the other. It could be like your physical state, right? If you are having a low body image, that can affect your desire. Or if you are feeling physically sexy and you don't have any like ailments, your knee ain't hurting, your hip ain't hurting, your back ain't hurting, your arm ain't hurting, all those things, right? That can lead to a higher desire. If those things are in alignment, it could be just your overall attitude, right? Especially if we're talking about in a relationship. If you are angry or you feel like there are things in a relationship that aren't working well, that can affect your desire or your drive and your mood to want to have sex. It could just be just sheer exhaustion, depending on work, depending on whether or not you have children. I know that because we both have kids, they can really dampen the mood sometimes based on their hijinks, right? And just attending to daily activity. And so I would say for most people, that mood, that desire, comes from a lot of factors and not just from like that horniness.
Yeah, no, I was going to say what you named was a ton of what I would call distractors, and they're good distractors. I mean, a lot of these things make sense, right? If you can't do two things at the same time. And so if you're distracted with the kids, you can't really attend to, sexual functions with your lover. That's not something that you can do at the same time. And so those types of distractions can get in the way. Exhaustion, I've heard from a lot of people, just seems to be a big one among men and women. It's just, I'm too tired, right? And I feel like that is the type of thing where I don't know that it ends up being an excuse at the end of the day, right? No matter what, even if it's a good excuse, it still ends up being an excuse, but it doesn't necessarily remedy the issue, which is like, oh, we aren't having sex. Plus, I don't know, maybe your energy being low
because adulting is exhausting. Yeah. Right? Like going through your everyday life, being a full functioning adult, or for some people, a half-baked adult, right? That whole thing is exhausting. So when are you not tired? Right? At any given moment, I'm exhausted. And so if that is whether or not you're in food, then it is really hard to figure out the moments in which you will be in the mood. Exhaustion is the reason.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. It's like you gotta really start hollowing out some time for yourself in general. Some time for general relaxation. So you can feel like a normal human being and not just the embodiment of whatever your tasks are. I feel like a lot of people get in that place where it's just repetitive. You're doing what it is you have to do. Uh, Especially among women, everybody is dependent upon you. Among men too, you get the same thing. Everybody's dependent upon you, so you just put all of your needs on the back burner, right?
Right.
And you prioritize yourself last in all the physical ways, and that sexual deprioritization is just one more example of it, right? But that one can be an incredibly destructive one to your own life and to your relationships if you continue to do that, because then you start losing connection, right? And so,
Yeah, and in all honesty, sexual desire fluctuates. Even high sex drive people,
yes,
right? Desire does fluctuate, right?
right,
And so that just I think for our audience, just to have that as a baseline understanding that your desire isn't going to be the same, your mood isn't going to be the same consistently, right? The fluctuation in sexual desire is naturally normal, but there are things that you can identify that cause that natural fluctuation. And if sex is a priority, then you can sort of mitigate, right, the times in which your desire
yeah,
will go up and down.
yes.
I would say also too,
The Venn diagram of when y'all both want
yeah,
if we have a little bit more overlap if you work on this, right? Yeah,
right,
yeah,
exactly. And I think also another thing that we didn't mention in terms of like the like if we think about the pie chart of sexual desire, right? Like what goes into desire. We talk about like your mental state, right? If I have mental health issues, that can be in that pie chart of desire. It can also be also like the quality of the sex that you're experiencing,
yeah.
right? And so when we think about that topic and you say when you're not in the mood, should you have sex anyway? Sometimes the answer is no because I've been having bad sex, right?
Yeah, that's
The
true.
quality of my sex does not lead to greater desire. And so if that's part of that pie chart, about like your mood, if that quality, that sex quality that you're experiencing, if that's part of it, then that's one area in which you can address, right? You can address
Mhm.
very clearly the quality of your sexual experience. If that quality is high, then maybe that's not part of the equation in terms of what is affecting your mood and your desires.
Yeah, no, I think those are excellent points. You know, your mood, your the distractions that can be in there. I feel like all of those things are good. I think sometimes you just also have to prioritize it as an important thing too. And so if you're a person who's extraordinarily busy, sometimes things that you like to be spontaneous probably have to be planned. And so, like it does sound romantic and anything like that. But if you get to the place where it's not happening very much at all, sometimes you do have to introduce a little bit of planning. And I think sometimes just doing an activity can create an environment where you feel sexy and you're more likely to do it again. You know,
Yeah, it's really
so
funny that you say that because I had a friend come to me. Since we started this podcast and we talk about sex often, you can imagine I get a lot of inbox messages, right? And so, and people ask me, I think prior to us even doing this, I've gotten questions and asked for advice about various things, relationship things mostly, but definitely a lot of things about sex. And so, I had a friend come to me and was like, well, we're both so busy, and by the time we get home, like our schedules don't match up, and all those things. And my answer was planning, right? Carving out time, setting a schedule for sex, and it was met with such they were just like disgusted that I would even say that, right? They had such a strong adverse reaction.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you mentioned the planning, and you know me, I'm a planner. I would plan. See, if you allow me to map out every second of your day, trust me, I would have a minute by minute accounting of what you should be doing. But that's where my mind went to. I'm like, okay, if you have busy schedules, then let's like start monitoring out your sex time, right? But I think that people have this idea about the romantic, spontaneity, magical, golden experience when it comes to sex. That like if it doesn't happen like that, then it's either not good sex, it's not quality, it's something that they don't want, or they just ignore it altogether, right? If I can't do it spontaneously and just miraculously, as soon as you walk through the door, feel all hot and heavy, and you take me in your arms and toss me down on the kitchen counter or whatever, like if it's not happening like that, then there's something either wrong with the relationship, wrong with the partner, wrong with the sex that we're having, wrong with the experience, and just wrong with me in general if I'm not feeling that way. And so, you know, why even go through the emotion, right? And so I would say that sometimes the not in the mood, you need to dig a little bit deeper into why you're not in the mood in the first place, right? And sometimes that not in the mood comes from this fantasized expectation of what sex is supposed to be, the conditions that create sexual encounters, the environment, all of those. We build it up in our heads in this way that like, if it's not happening in this prescriptive fantasy that I've thought about, that I've seen in the movies, that I've watched on porn, then something's wrong and I'm not in the mood. You walked through the door, you came home from work, you didn't tear your tie off and rip my buttons open and not, you know what I mean, sweep me off my feet and carry me into the bedroom. Well, I'm not in the mood. And I know that might sound ridiculous, but in conversations with people, that's what comes through. There's this fantasy about sex. There's these built-up expectations that don't match reality, and it really affects people's desire to even want to engage.
Yeah, and that's sad. Because the real thing is, this is like,
that's sad. I ain't got an answer for you.
No, it is sad. I do have an answer, right? Because it's like a sports team, right? You don't get to the one shining moment just right off the bat, right? You shoot in the gym for hours, right? You got to make it through the whole season. Heroin escapes, great last-second shots throughout the season to get to your one shining moment. And so what I'm saying is like, y'all practicing towards greatness all the time, and it can get a little better every time, right? But if you don't practice it, how good are you gonna get? Look at Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods was out there, and he would swing those woods for hours. Tiger Woods would swing the wood until he got so good at swinging the wood that he could put that ball exactly where he wanted to. And out of entire field where you can really, and so when you can, and here's the deal, when you can sling wood like Tiger was slinging the wood, and practice as much as Tiger did, you look at the other people who ain't slinging wood like Tiger and still won't practice and want to be great. Want to be great, you gotta practice. So get out there and sling that wood. Get out there and yes. Get out there and take those chip shots. Get on the green. Play delicate. Do what you need to do. Observe what's happening with the wind. You gotta do. See, that's the whole deal, right? To get the stroke, great. You're gonna have to practice, and that's on both sides, right? This is a team sport, right? It's like a bobsled team. You both have to be on top of things to make it work, right?
No.
Switch told sports metaphors.
There were points being made, and then he
That's
said,
right.
Bob said.
But
Not Bobby
the fact is,
Crafton's.
the, fact-
Bob
the,
said.
the fact is, everybody's got to be committed to that championship goal. Championship teams don't come with just one standout player.
Right.
That's right. And so, if y'all are going to achieve greatness, then you have to practice. That's right. And so,
Right.
some of the
So
runs are
maybe
not
that
going to be
practice
perfect.
entails doing it when you don't feel like
Now, I can go back in 3, 2.
it. So getting off of wood, we're coming back to the conditions that lead to moods and sexual desires. I think we need to add this other layer of people's attitudes about sex in general,
Yeah.
right? I think that it's important to determine whether or not your attitude, your overall feelings about sex, whether those feelings are positive or negative. Are they shame inducing or are they edifying? Right? Is your attitude about sex generating positive, uplifting, sort of enriching feelings about your self worth, your self image, your own desire, or are your attitudes about sex creating mental barriers that sort of suppress your desire? Right?
Yeah.
I speak a lot. A lot of people come to me and talk about, just in general what they think should be permissible in sexual encounters and what shouldn't be permissible. Certain acts themselves feel taboo and things that they just, even if they haven't even tried it, just the idea of it itself is something that they won't even explore. And so if you have a long laundry list of things that are off the table, so to speak, you might revisit that list and decide, like, is my overall attitude about sex contributing to my desire
Yeah.
in a negative or a positive way?
Yeah, I think so many of us were raised in environments where religion told you that sexual desire was basically wrong, right? The only reason that you were supposed to have sex was for procreation, which is really interesting to me. That's the way in which many people were introduced to the idea, and so when you have to try to break away from some of the cultural impact of that and keep that from being within your bedroom, it can be tough, right? And
Yeah, it's like there's so much sexual guilt,
right, yeah,
underneath that.
right. So then you don't really ever fully enjoy what it is, even that you're doing it sometimes in the moment because you feel like it's wrong, unless you're getting some sort of thrill from doing something that is taboo and wrong. But so many people, even after that, then they end up feeling guilty and carrying negative feelings, which makes them want to, not repeat the action. So there's so many different ways that you can end up in a negative place behind something that you're doing that could otherwise be pleasurable, just because of the way in which other folks have talked to you or the way in which you think other folks might see it if they knew.
Yeah, it's like, oh no, if my girls knew, or if my boys knew I was into this or into that, or I was doing this or I was doing that, what would they say? Or I feel so, there's just like all this shame built into it.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. Sometimes there's friend groups. I mean, I know y'all love your friends and stuff, but sometimes they can be your worst enemy when it comes to your ability to explore and really let loose sexually. If your friends have a laundry list of things that should be off the table, if you have a laundry list of things that are off the table, it really gets in the way of that mood and desire. And so when we talk about, our overall topic, should you have sex when you're not in the mood? And I would say yes, because one, practice makes perfect, right? Sometimes your mood can change during the act, right? If you start doing a little bit of foreplay and start doing a little bit of touch and feeling and a rub, then what mood was I in before? I do not
Right.
remember that other mood because right now, right here, the mood is sex. And so I think if we are going by this preset mood when it comes to every time you have to engage, that that really might diminish. I think it will just flat out diminish the breadth and the depth of sexual experiences that you can have. And if you are sitting around a bunch of negative energy and a bunch of people that have so many taboos about sex, that starts to seep in and starts to influence how you see it. And it starts to make you feel like, am I doing, is what I'm doing like against the grain? It's not enough. Like me, for me, I lean into going against the grain and going against societal norms. And I lean into the fact that I'm having bomb, nasty sex, and the rest of y'all, I am actually very sad and disappointed in the state of affairs when it
Yeah.
comes to your sex life. But that's me. I like being the outlier in that way. But for a lot of people, they like to fit into the crowd. And so that
Yeah.
can really, really damper or even heighten if you're around a bunch of nasty
Yeah.
people.
I was gonna say you can find your community. You can find your community.
Mind your people.
Right? Like there are Facebook groups out there, there are Instagram, there's Instagrams, there's everything that's out there where you can find folks
There's us.
yeah,
Listen to
right,
us.
of course, right?
Right.
Where you can get some sex positive messaging, some things that aren't going to make you necessarily feel bad, or actually make you feel good and feel empowered about your choice to enjoy your body and enjoy the bodies of your partners. I feel like this is some of this stuff it gets so ridiculous and convoluted because you have too many people involved in the decision, right? That
Yeah.
decision should
The
be
whole world is in your
the
bed.
people who are engaged in it, right? And so now you got what it is your mama thinks about it, and your daddy thinks about it, and what your homies gonna think about it. Also weighing in on your decision, and these are people who you would never invite into your bedroom. So why are you inviting them into the mental space that you are using for your bedroom?
That is a
There's no
good
reason for
point.
that. Mm-hmm.
I love that. These are all these people that would not be in your bedroom, but you have invited them into your headspace that you carry into the bedroom.
Right. I guess. And so now they're in there and they can't do anything except rehab because that's it's your idea of it. Right, yeah. And so why carry that? You know?
Right.
And so because I feel like for a lot of people these lists of what it is they want to have less to do with them than with them as a person than they should. Like your list about what it is you're not gonna do should be firmly about you and what it is you want to feel or not feel and how you want to be or not be. Not how somebody else is gonna look at the fact that you might have enjoyed something like it. That's my
Yeah. And I think too, a lot of these lists come from actually not even trying it, right? I don't swallow. Have you tried?
Mm-hmm.
Are you dealing with somebody with a real healthy diet? Does it drink water? Does it eat pineapples? Because gulping that thing might actually be real nice. Have you tried? I don't like when he pushes my head down. Really? Have you been fucked to the throat though? Have you done that? You might like it.
Yeah.
So there's just so many things that
spread the good
news. Preach. There's so many things that people I don't like anal. What kind of lube have you tried? Have you tried that? Right? What's the size? Because maybe there's different positions to help accommodate that. Make it. Have you cleaned out? Have you taken the enema? Like, there's so many things that, like, you might like if you actually try. And maybe it's like, okay, I tried it. This was terrible. Well, then maybe that's off the table, right?
Yeah.
But I think people put things off the table that they have never even experienced on the table at all.
Right. And it just makes you boring and sometimes boring. You can be boring to somebody else and it's okay, but if you're boring
Not to
to
make you boring.
yourself,
You are boring.
if
You
you
are
bore
boring to
yourself,
yourself.
if you're
You
boring
are
to
boring to
yourself,
your partner. You
right,
is vanilla, but not vanilla bean. You
right,
just no
it's
pecans
just
in the
no,
ice
you
cream at
taste like
all.
you taste like paper. Like that's
Mayonnaise, just mayonnaise.
yeah.
Um,
No, that's I don't want to judge people for their inexperience, but like if you are both inexperienced
I
and
don't judge.
you have firm views about how everything should be, that's always a red flag because you've never
Yeah,
done shit, but you know every damn thing. And so anytime,
ain't did shit.
anytime you
Don't
have
like
that
none of.
conversation, I'm I'm always gonna have some questions about whatever it is that you tell me I should just have a
That's
point.
true.
Yeah,
And also, I think this is a nice part, a nice place to segue into the next segment, talking about communication. I mean, we've had episodes in the past when we talk about communication styles, sexual communication styles. We've talked a little bit about vetting for sexual desire and intimacy and exploration. We've talked about, how to initiate. But I think a lot of what all that we've been saying in these different topics is like there's an underlying communication factor that if it's not on the table, if the gap there in communication exists, it is going to re- run roughshod through your entire experience, right? It's going to wreak havoc. If you do not have clear, consistent, open communication with the people that you're engaging with, right? Um, then there's no way for anybody else to understand like what even goes into creating that mood that makes sex easier, or and also not or but and there's no way to really um mitigate a lot of the factors that can put barriers up for your mood. And so communication and consistent communication is really the underlying foundational factor in all of this, right? It's not just saying, when someone is trying, he, she, them, they, whomever you're engaging with, right? Is saying, oh, I'm trying to put the moves on you, and they're either doing it verbally or doing it physically, and you're like, I'm not in the mood. That's not where communication should start. It should start way before that so that the person knows how to read the signals and determine the mood that would that makes it easier, that you're most likely be perceptive or receptive to the encounter. And a lot of that can happen way out of the bedroom, right? The communication can happen with just having a list of things that you would consent to, and the conditions in which consent is given, and how to sort of like a blueprint or a rules of engagement when it
mm-hmm.
comes to sex.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point. Like giving your partner a roadmap is helpful. Otherwise, folks feel completely lost. And sometimes when people feel completely lost, they just give the hell up. And you hear stories about people like, oh, he used to try, but now he don't even try no more. And you used to be the person that was denied, and now you're the person who feels denied. And that happens
Right.
when a person has just been like,
Oh, and that
man,
happens all the time. You put up so many red flags, red flag, red flag, red flag, stop, stop, stop. And so then when your partner stops trying, you're like, well, I feel like you're denying me sex. Well, what? You've been
yeah,
denying me the
yep,
whole time.
yep, yep,
What?
right, well,
Why?
right. Because that's the other thing is that some people have everything so centered on them, right? And that's a problem that I have. If you're going to make it so that it's only about what you want it, then is it something that is embodying the spirit of sharing? are y'all having a relationship where there's real give and take? Or are you just somebody who's using somebody when you feel like it? And then when they don't feel like being used, then now you mad. And when they feel like their needs are being met by you, and they seek to have their needs met by somebody else or stop turning to you, then you feel betrayed, right? And so if you are your only person in the relationship you care about, yes, technically you could never feel betrayed. But the fact is, what it is that you are trying to set up a situation where you can get without giving. And when you do that, you set yourself up for a fall. You're kidding yourself if you think that that's going to work out that way and continue long time, because it just isn't, you know?
Yeah. And I think a lot of times when people communicate about sex, they only talk about boundaries too.
Yep.
Right? They talk about what are my limits. I think a lot of people don't talk about where their go places are, right? If your communication around sex is all set up about what you won't do and what your boundary is and where the stop sign is, then it's really hard for someone else to determine where the green line, right? And that's so I feel like it's important to highlight that, like, when you're communicating, you have to communicate on both ends of the spectrum. I need to know where green is, not just where red.
Yeah, don't just bring it all negative. I feel like
Right.
you want to have some positive discussion around like future exploration of things that have gone well, right? Just like when somebody gives an evaluation, you don't just tell a person the bad stuff or the things. It's like, oh, I just want you to change all of that. You talk about the good things, how you gonna build on those and move those forward too. But
Yeah.
it's gotta be regular and comfortable for people to translate that information to one another without everybody feeling like, I'm attacked, I feel hurt, or I'm gonna take it out on you in other ways in the relationship. I think sometimes people get punished for that transparency, and then that ends in even less things, right?
Yeah.
And
Now
so,
I'm telling you the truth of being transparent, and now you got an attitude. Now you
right,
mad.
right. Now they
Like,
go
why you
be
asked me then if you didn't want the truth?
right. So now they never gonna be that, right? And so that's the thing is I think for some people you gotta ask yourself like, what is it that I really want, and then what am I actually setting up here, right? Because you can say you want a thing, but is that really what you want? You're like, I want a healthy sex life, but then you never feel like having sex, right? It's like people who say I want to be in good shape, but you never feel like exercise.
And you
Anytime you
don't
have a
put down
choice
the
to pick a
fork.
meal, it's
You
always
won't
bad
put
food,
down the
right?
fork.
Right,
I want this summer body.
right. And it's like, do you
Well,
mean that? Do you mean that at all,
that
right?
friend is not gonna help.
Right. Because are you fooling?
Just
You're
saying.
not fooling nobody, and you're not fooling yourself. Well, maybe you are fooling yourself in some cases, but
Yeah.
it's not changing the reality. That's my hope. And if you don't work on the reality of the whole thing, at some point everything is going to come crumbling down because it's all been a mirage in the first place, right? So you got to look at what it is that the person who you are with actually needs. Like, don't bullshit yourself into thinking like, oh well, just because my needs are going to be met based on the frequency and intensity of sexual encounters we have, we gonna be good. Because that's just
Yeah.
not the case.
If I think about my needs, and then I start extrapolating or like projecting a we situation out of that, then no.
Yeah,
Then it's not gonna be a we. I'm just talking about me. If I'm good, we good.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
that's not how this works at all.
yeah.
So I'm gonna break the fourth wall a little bit right now. Our producer in the background is doing all kinds of lewd acts with his wife while
Wow,
we're recording it.
wow,
So
wow.
so I'm trying to stay on topic and stay focused and talk about
Yes,
mood and desire and all that stuff.
but
But
distractions.
also they are not helping me in terms of staying on mission when it comes to this podcast today. So I just please forgive me if I seem a little distracted today. They are actively trying to distract me. But anyway, let's bring it back. So we talked about communication. I delved into consent a little bit, but I think it's important to talk about our own personal philosophies when it comes to having sex when you're not in the mood, and whether or not you should or shouldn't do it. And so, surprise, surprise. My answer is yes. Right? Should I have sex when I'm not in the mood? My answer is yes. And part of that is because if you leave me to my own devices, I'm not be in the mood any given time, to be real, right? I may be distracted and be like, you know what? It's time for me to braid my hair up. These kids is on my nerves. I gotta make dinner. What am I wearing to work tomorrow? Like, there's so many things that go on in my day and go on into me being the boss bitch that I am. That can distract me from focusing on my actual sexual mood. So you ask me, are you in the mood to have sex? Don't ask me that question, because my answer is going to be so inconsistent. And me being a Gemini, I'm just moody in general. So you never know. Don't wait on me. You waiting on me. You gonna be sitting around. Either you're gonna have a nut or you're not. It's gonna be like box of chocolate. Sometimes you get a nut, sometimes you don't. Don't wait on me, right? And so I think part of that fluctuation in my own feelings, I've decided to adopt the philosophy of free use in our relationship, because I think that helps mitigate all of those ups and downs and those changes that I go through. Shoot, I'm getting up there in age. Let's be honest, the hormonal changes be affecting. Whether I'm on birth control or not on birth control can affect. And so, for you, Dr. Love, I thought that would be a good way for me to sort of take the guessing out of it for you. It's just move into the situation of where we practice free use.
Yeah, and I think it's great in a lot of ways, right? I think that if you know the light is always green, then it feels like, I don't know, the sex with your body, and so everything can feel a little sexy or feel a little seductive. And so the small things that I do feel like seduction, and I treat it as such. And I look at you, when I touch you. Yeah, I look at you differently. I talk to you in a more seductive way. I touch you seductively. And so then things happen more frequently. And it feels organic and it feels more spontaneous, even though it's just, you can just do it anytime. Right? And I think that whole will they won't they is overplayed in terms of whether or not it's really great. It's like, absolutely they will, but how many times and in what ways, and using what tools, and at what heights or whatever. Like, there's so many different variations that you can play with. And so when you start to do that, you get into the breadth and the depth of sexual experience, because you aren't waiting at the stoplight to even get on the freeway, right? And I feel like for so many people, that's where they are. They're sitting there waiting and hoping that a signal is going to tell them that, hey, it's time, and not just it's time.
And waiting for the traffic light to turn.
Right. And it's one of those things that I feel like makes people feel gun shy about the whole process, right? It's like, yeah, you want to pursue, but you got to get caught. You got to be catchable. Men are going to do things that they feel successful in, right? And so
you can't be Sha'Carri out here running like a track star, Olympian.
Right.
Talking about pursue me. Nobody can pursue you.
Right. If you gotta run right, you gotta run like the chicks in the horror movie, trip over stuff, panic a little bit, then faint. That type of run. You can't actually run, especially if his knees bad. My point is that it's you're supposed to be catchable. You're supposed to be catchable. He's supposed to pursue, but help your man out, and I think that's in a lot of ways. If there's distractions and things that are going to get on your nerves and make you mad at him, don't make him keep guessing what's going to piss you off. Like, try to let him know. And for some things, it's like get it out of your own way. If you know he's gonna pick up the wrong brand of bread every single time, why you keep asking him to do it when you could do it? And I'm not saying that needs to be the thing every time.
No, man, pause, because
no, let me tell you why.
No,
I'm just saying, like
a photo array of the shopping list, and still, and listen, ladies, y'all know what I'm talking about. You send the man to the supermarket. You done gave him a whole picture book of things at the supermarket. He's still gonna come back. He's still gonna come back with the wrong. You said Arnold. He got Pepperidge Farm.
I knew I was going to touch a nerve.
Why y'all do that?
I knew I should have gone with another example. My point is,
brings y'all panic. It does.
You want to set everybody up for success, including your expectations, right? That's my whole thing, right? It's
true.
Set things up so that you can win. And I would encourage him to do the same thing. If you continue to do the same thing wrong and you're not experiencing what you want to, maybe you want to try doing that thing right that she keeps talking about, because that might be.
And Karen,
I don't know, right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like earnestly want to do it right, and sometimes it's not for you. That's the thing. It's like, if you can do some things selflessly, look at it. All the romance and shit that's built up, it's all built off of doing something selfless. So I think on both sides, if you can be selfless with one another and give to one another, then you get to experience more. I feel like
I think sometimes people come from such a selfish standpoint when it comes to sex. It's like, if I give, then how do I know I'm going to give? Well, I don't know. Are you with a partner that actually cares about your desire? Yeah. Then that's where we need to start, right? If you're with someone that you genuinely think cares about your desire, maybe start by giving, right? Start by giving. And when they are receiving what it is that they desire, they want to give too. And if you are both coming from a standpoint of giving first, then what naturally happens is y'all both are also receiving.
What a beautiful holiday message.
Right?
It really is. You give, you build towards something special and beautiful. It's complete with the red cup and everything. This is really nice. Yes.
It's my Hallmark moment.
I agree.
I'm here. Can't you see me on a Hallmark card, guys?
I can. Yeah. When they start doing their little.
I jumped into free use, but just for those of you that don't know what that actually means, I think the words are self-explanatory, but I think I would be remiss if I did not define free use for you. So when I talk about free use in our philosophy in our relationship, free use, right, means that the couple engages in sex whenever one of the partners wants it. So when one of us, either one of us, is feeling desire for sex, we engage in sex, and both of us don't have to feel that desire at the same time, right? It is the underlying philosophy in our sexual relationship that we engage in sex whenever, right? Whenever someone else is feeling it, we engage in it, and we engage with it and have sex with the other person, even if the other person is not horny. So even if you are not horny at the moment and I am feeling desire, right? If I reach over and grab that thing, you're like, all right, this is what we're doing. I might not have been in the moment right now. I might have been thinking about the tools in the garage and how I've got to fix the faucet over there. But she grabbed my peen. So, and this is our philosophy in our relationship. So I'm going to jump into sex because that is the way in which we operate. And I could be sitting there, elbows deep in dishes, I'm in the kitchen, or whatever. If you are feeling desirous at that moment and you engage with me, then we have made the agreement, right?
Yeah.
That I'm going to jump into sex with you, regardless of whether or not I am personally in the space of desire, right? And that may feel like, oh well, it's you know, what if you don't feel like it and this and that, or things are going on, it's not the right time, and what about consent? Well, the thing with free use is that you have consented to it prior, right? This is a conversation that we've had, we communicated, we just said, this is how we want to engage. These are the acts in which I consent to. These are my boundaries. We've already went through all of these vetting things, and so that whenever you are feeling frisky, you can leave, and I'm not going to say no.
Yeah.
And I think we take it sometimes we take it to an extreme because it's whenever and how often, right? And so it could be 5 minutes ago we just did this. Well, 5 minutes later, I am now back up.
Yeah.
My refractory period is low. I am up, and so I want it again. Right? And my answer to you, Dr. Love, is always what?
Oh yes, it's always yes.
It's always yes. It's always yes. And it's always an enthusiastic yes, because that is what we have decided is best for our sexual relationship. Right?
And that's my answer too. I feel like that's the other part of it. It's also my answer. And I think that
you don't never say
yeah. Well, but you know, reciprocity being what it is, I think there are guys who like the idea of getting a yes whenever they feel like it, but then again, they want to do whenever they feel like it. And so, but you know, it's gotta, at least for me, the way I see it, it gotta be reciprocal, where everybody can get their needs met.
But it's not always you initiating, right?
Nope,
So the free use is not it's not one direction, right?
Nope, it is.
Oftentimes it is you because you're a little bit more risky than I am.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But oftentimes I will be just sitting there, minding my own business, thinking innocent thoughts, and then next thing you know, I got, I'm being touched. And so, just sitting there reflecting on past Bible studies and stuff like that. The next thing you know,
reading the scripture. Next thing you know, just all my painting.
Reflecting, meditating, if you will, on the word. And then the next thing you know, bam, hands, mouth, it's on. And so
hands, mouth, feet, everything.
Yeah, everything. And so it's great though, right? Because at least for me, it makes me feel desire. I love, and it happens both ways in terms of having my advances be returned, but then also in terms of having advances made upon me and returned. I think it's edifying in a way. Every time it happens, you build on each one of those encounters and each one of those yeses. And I think a yes builds things between you. And I would say a no kind of erodes them. And if you go along that general sort of feel with your partner, just go with that. Yeah. You want to set things up so that you're saying yes to each other far more frequently. And I think that's what communication is all about. It's about setting a groundwork for y'all to get to yes and get to better yeses and more frequent yeses and louder, real screaming yeses.
Screaming, reverberating yeses.
Those yeses, those types of yeses.
Yes, it's heard down the street.
Yeah, yes. Neighbors know my name. Yes.
Yes.
There you go. All right. Yeah. So as we were talking about all of the elements of really getting it going, and not when you necessarily want to get it going, even all the way up through just being completely open with one another. Another element is it doesn't necessarily have to be sex all the time. I think sometimes our bodies crave physical intimacy, they crave closeness, they crave touch in general at some level of stimulation that doesn't always have to lead to sex. But I think it's important that we recognize that those are needs that need to be met. Sometimes they can lead to sex and sometimes they won't. But you can have physical needs in terms of touch that extend beyond sex. You look like you wanted to comment there. You gotta.
Because I saw that in the background. There are things happening.
Is there touch happening?
So much touch happening.
Are people touching? You know, sex obviously said it's a live environment. There's all sorts of things happening all around us, people. And so it's not just the topic. We are inspired with sex positivity in every way, including sometimes in the very room that we are recording and putting the work together. So I'll draw your attention back to the topic at hand, despite what's going on with other people's heads in the room. The topic, of course, here is what kinds of other touch have you felt has been edifying in our relationship or helped us build in certain ways?
For me, that general closeness. You said something about our bodies craving touch, intimacy, and like closeness. And I would say that you are really good at building non-sexual intimacy and closeness. A thing that, and you know me, I'm a bibliophile, so I'm gonna read a book, and I love books. And I think one of the things that we have done together that really has created closeness that, like, consequently has increased my frequency in terms of being in the mood is reading together, right? But we have picked a book that we both either I picked the book or you picked the book that we're like, you know what? We're going to read this together and we're going to have a mini book club sort of discussion about this book. Like that to me is so intimate and so close and so sexy, right? That she would actually engage in literature with me as a former English major. It's like right hitting my all my gooey spots, right? And so like that activity and engaging and sitting down and like we're not doing anything but reading to each other. I love listening to you read and me just sitting there, laying at your feet as you're telling me a story. That brings closeness and intimacy in a non-sexual way, which does transfer into me just feeling like wanting to give often to you. I think another thing is just your willingness to do all of this service for me. If it's just like I need a new shower rod, or my faucet is leaky, or my like just willing to like plug all the holes. Plug all the holes in my life, right? And that makes me feel so close. And then so it makes me think about ways in which I can give to you and I can draw closer and nearer to you that have nothing to do with me. When you tell me, hey, I was at jujitsu and I tweaked whatever, I want to give you a massage. I want to, buy you a massage gun and work out those kinks because you need that. And I am much more in tune with your needs, and non-sexual needs, right? Much more in tune to your non-sexual needs because we are so close to each other. And so those are the ways I think. Those are some of the ways. There's so many ways. I think you ask me all the time, did you eat? What did you have to eat? Did you drink your water
Yeah,
today? How much water did you drink? Just feeling so cared after and so nurtured. I think, you know, we often think that like women are the nurturers, but like in a real healthy relationship, you nurture each other,
yeah,
and you're so nurturing to my physical, emotional, spiritual needs. Those things help really limit the times in which I'm not in the mood. Because
yeah,
honestly, I can't think of any reason why I would say no to you when you want something. I can't. I can't think of, and I'm being real genuine, transparent, honest. There is no, you take away all of the reasons to say no by the way in which you treat me. So there's no, I can't, like saying no to you feels like a purely selfish act because you are
yeah.
so selfless.
Well, and I'll say like, because there's probably a woman like looking at this and being like, see, that's how you need to be, and then you get, well, guess what? The reason that you get that is how you get, right? It is the fact that you give selflessly physically, but also that you're listening, you're edifying in the way that you talk to me, you try to build me up, you work with me, you believe in me. Those type of things make it easier for me to give and not feel insecure in my giving as though I might be getting taken advantage of. And so where you can be with a person where you feel that level of connectivity, then touch is just an extension. But when
Yeah,
you
and it's
don't
so funny
have
because you say all the time that like the way I talk to you, I build you up or whatever, and I edify. But like honestly, it's because you're always doing something spectacular. I'm sorry, guys, we're a little savvy right now, but like you're always doing something great, and so it's so easy to pay the compliment. It's so easy to pour into you and support you and uplift you because you're not looking for pats on the back for mundane mediocre stuff. And I wanted to say that before you like finish your thought because I think a lot of times guys and women want congratulations, pats on the back for just doing normal run of the mill expected mundane things. It's like what my mother used to say, you don't get extra stuff for having A's in school. You're supposed to have A's in school.
yeah,
That's your job.
yeah,
And so you it's not like you're looking for I took out the garbage today. Can I get a congratulations for that? No. You get you get from me because you are extraordinary, I think.
yeah. Well, thank you. And you're extraordinary too. Like that's the whole thing. It's like it doesn't have to feel one sided. And all of the other episodes that we did with the petting and all the rest of this can lead you to whether or not that person is right for you. But
Right.
the attitude that you're going to choose to exhibit is going to have to, take some work on your own part, right? Because people can be giving you all of these things and you still don't have your own attitude fixed to be able to receive them well, to
Yes.
be a giver, right? Or
Yeah.
like if you
And they're
do
giving you
give,
all the things, but you don't even recognize the giving.
right, or you might just be the type of person who is not used to finding the joy in giving, and so everything
Yeah.
that you give in the spirit that is begrudging, despite the fact that the person is giving it to you. And I just highlight those two sort of bits because those are the ones that people end up finding unbearable in long-term situations because you create imbalance when you do that. Right. And so if you are a person that is constantly looking to give and never looking to give, don't be surprised when that other person begins to withdraw the things they were giving to you from you. Like that's how it goes. And so um, don't take one another for granted and try to be the best version of yourself and not always just for yourself. Right. And if you can do those things, and pay attention to a person, then you're likely to get given the keys to making them happy. And if their happiness means something to you, then them being happy makes you happier, and everybody is growing, right? And when you have two people doing that with one another, things can bloom and blossom and develop, right? You're not looking for when the ending is going to come because you're too busy growing, and you're not going to be insecure about giving because it's too much of an investment, right? That type of thing, you're not thinking from a space of lack. And I think just in a more broad philosophical understanding of this is that it doesn't have to be a zero-sum game or played from a space of lack.
Right.
It's something that is infinite and that you can do in at any point in time. So
yeah, I mean, it's just I think a lot of people have a deficit mindset, right? They think in terms of gap and holes and deficits. They don't think in terms of abundance. And
that's
so when you have a deficit mindset, it is really hard to step outside of I don't feel like it, and therefore I'm not going to do it. When you have a deficit mindset, it's really difficult to step outside of your own feelings, and in that moment I'm not in them. And I would say to folks, if you open up your perspective and say, regardless if I'm in the mood or not, I can receive abundance here if I'm open to it, then your mood can change, right? If you open up to the idea of abundance, because if you're not in the mood, okay, then you're not getting something because you're not in the mood. But if you open up a deficit and an abundance, you're getting things that you don't even know you wanted or needed, right? I'm not in the mood today. I don't feel like having sex or whatever. So okay, if I stayed there in that mindset, then okay, that orgasm is not gonna happen. But then if I step outside of that, right, and I'm like, yeah, I might not feel like it, but let's see what happens, right? Let's go ahead and jump in and see what happens. I'm getting all kinds of climax disease that I didn't know I wanted.
Yes.
Now it's running over. I'm overjoyed. I'm full. Okay.
Wow.
Feeling over with abundance.
The doors of the church are open.
Oh, what if you close yourself up? If you
won't you come?
You know.
No, I get this
experience the bounty and the plentifulness that is out there for you in terms of your desire, your pleasure, your joy.
Yeah, you ain't gonna run out of coochie. Just kidding.
You ain't gonna run out of coochie. Coochie does not run out. It's still there.
You ain't gonna run out. You ain't gonna run out.
It's still abundant. It's there. When you pay, guess what? There's one behind it.
Right. Throw some out there and have a good time. Like you're not gonna run out. You're not gonna run out. You ain't got to save like you put them in your little basket, baby. I promise you, you're not gonna run out.
And on that note, friends, we have come to the end of our episode. I hope you guys had a good time. I had a good time. I know Dr. Love had a good time. And if you like what you heard, if you like our podcast and you enjoyed us, go ahead and like, subscribe, comment, share widely. We are on IG at sex_obviously. We are on all of your podcast platforms. Podcast platforms, and we are now newly on YouTube and TikTok. So go ahead and find us on YouTube and TikTok at sex_obviously, on IG, on all of your podcast platforms. platforms. And I will see you. We will see you on the next episode. We've been talking about sex here.
Obviously.
Hey.